The humble worker promises to help the millionaire in a wheelchair live again, but she laughed. Elena stood at the massive iron gates of the Whitmore estate, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Behind those gates, past the velvet curtains and marble statues, was Vivian, a woman trapped in silence and shadows, confined to a wheelchair since that night no one dared speak about. The city outside was a twisted puzzle. Gleaming glass towers reflected sunlight onto cracked sidewalks, while desperate faces vanished into alleyways. Here, though, the world had stopped, frozen in cold luxury. The driver's door slammed shut behind Elena, the sound swallowed by an eerie stillness. She adjusted the worn straps of her faded bag, grit grinding underneath her nails. She wasn't just any caretaker. She carried the dust of her past failures like a chain, but also a promise no one else believed in, to help Vivian find life beyond those wheels, beyond that bitter laugh. When the butler finally opened the heavy door, a cold draft whispered secrets through the sprawling halls. Elena's footsteps echoed off marble floors, each step a sharp contrast to the crumbling streets she had left behind. Portraits of Whitmore ancestors glared down, eyes carved in stone, filled with silent accusation. The house smelled of forgotten trust and polished loneliness. Then she saw her, Vivian, slim, regal, as distant as a winter star, her eyes sharp and empty. The wheelchair was ornate, almost unnatural, like a throne of chains. The woman's laugh shattered the silence, brittle and sharp. "You?" she sneered. "From there? You think you can fix me?" Elena's throat tightened. The weight of the insult stung deeper than the sharpest blade. Yet her voice held steady. "I won't leave until you learn to live again." Vivian's eyes narrowed, suspicion thick in the air, like smoke. Years of betrayal twisted her spirit. Luxury had failed to shield her from pain, and now it seemed impenetrable. Elena noticed the walls closing in, room after room, grand but empty. Crystal chandeliers glittered above like frozen tears. Outside, a garden wilted under neglect, as if the estate itself more Ned. But then, something unexpected, a faint sound, a secret whispered in silence. As Elena explored the mansion's shadows, her fingers brushed against a hidden letter tucked beneath a loose floorboard. Dated years ago, it mentioned names, Whitmore and Alvarez, two families tangled in a dark past that no one dared untangle, until now. Elena's heart slammed against her ribs. Could her own family's story be connected to Vivian's curse of silence and pain? Questions raced through her head, choking the air. Before she could ask, the sharp click of heels shattered the moment. A man emerged from the shadows, slick, dangerous, his grin a razor. His eyes glinted with greed and something darker. He whispered threats beneath his breath, promising to keep Vivian locked away, broken and forgotten. His business empire thrived on her downfall, and then, out of nowhere, a betrayal bloomed like poison. Someone Elena had trusted, the one who promised support, turned cold. The wound cut so deep it nearly broke her. Her hands trembled. Who could she believe now? Was the promise she made worth this storm of deceit? The mansion seemed to lean in closer, walls whispering secrets no one was ready to hear. Outside, the city's neon glow flickered, reflecting the fragile flickering hope inside Elena's chest. Could two shattered souls truly heal? Or would the past's venom swallow them whole? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button, because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The mansion pulsed with tension, the air thick with secrets that clawed at Elena's throat. The man with the razor grin loomed, shadow stretching long across the floor. She could feel Vivian's eyes bore into her, heavy with skepticism and pain. Every flicker of doubt fanned the flames of her resolve. She swallowed hard, refusing to look away from the threat. "Who are you to connect our fates?" Vivian sneered, her voice like ice. "You, from the streets, you're just an echo of a broken past." "Maybe," Elena said, breath hitching. "But I'll still fight for you." Suddenly, the man stepped closer, a sly smirk dancing on his lips. "And what makes you think you aren't just a pawn in a much bigger game?" He leaned in, his breath hot and tainted. "Vivian isn't your only obligation anymore. You have no idea what chains bind her to this place, or how they tie to you too." Her heart raced. The way he spoke, it felt like a hammer striking a bell. She needed answers to push past this suffocating veil. "What do you mean?" Before he could respond, a sharp bang echoed through the hall, a cruel alarm shattering their fragile moment. The front doors burst open, and a group of figures stormed in. The light behind them formed dark silhouettes. They moved like ghosts, purposeful as they filled the space between Elena and the man. Each face was familiar. Friends, allies she had trusted, but they were masked, hiding their true intentions. "Elena, one," shouted, urgency lacing his voice. "Get away from her! It's a trap!" Confused, Elena's eyes darted back to Vivian. But there was no sympathy in her gaze, only a cold detachment. The weight of betrayal felt like lead in her gut. "You called them here?" Vivian chuckled, low and dangerous. "I thought you were stronger than this, but it seems you're still just as naive. You think those friends want to save you?" "What are you talking about?" Elena's voice trembled. Caught between anger and hurt, each one of them is a part of the plan, part of the family's legacy, the legacy they never wanted you to uncover. "They're here to protect me, yes, but not from harm from you." Elena's breath caught, ice running through her veins. Suddenly, everything spun in a chaotic whirl. The laughter of Vivian echoed, and the masked figures closed in. "Betrayal runs deeper than blood, Elena," one of them whispered with a voice that dripped with venom. Everything flipped. The city outside, with its cracked sidewalks and desperate streets, felt 100 miles away. Here, in this opulent cage, she was surrounded by deceit. She wanted to scream. Then, abruptly, Vivian reached into her wheelchair, retrieving something small and gleaming, a pendant that caught the light. "This," she said, her voice steady, "is our curse and salvation. Your past is woven into this house, and so is your fate." Elena took a step back, the walls closing in around her. The shadows danced as the figures advanced, closing off any escape. The promise she held so tightly began to dissolve, slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. "Will you abandon your promise?" Vivian asked, her voice a silken whip. With her heart racing and thoughts in chaos, Elena's mind tangled with the weight of the moment. In this twisted family tree of hurt and hope, who would she trust? Before she could answer, the lights flickered. The room darkened as a snap echoed, and the chandelier crashed down, sending shards of crystal scattering like stars, risking everything in a single shattering instant. Was this their end, or the beginning of something far more terrifying? The chandelier's gleam shattered with a force that echoed off the marble walls, sending shards cascading like deadly raindrops. Everything went dark for a heartbeat. Panic surged through Elena, heart racing, adrenaline pounding. "Look out!" someone screamed, but the warning was lost in the chaos. Vivian's laughter warped into a shriek, and the masked figures around them moved like shadows, darting to protect their own. In the chaos, Elena stumbled backward. She felt the icy grip of fear clutching at her lungs. Her hands trembled as she reached for the nearest wall, desperately searching for something, anything to hold on to. "Vivian!" she cried, but her voice felt small, swallowed by the dark. The dim light flickered back in, revealing the aftermath of the crash. Crystal shards sparkled on the floor like a field of stars, all beauty overshadowed by the danger. But something else flickered too. something in Vivian's eyes that Elena had missed before. A glint, a fire, and then the shadows narrowed around the wheelchair. Vivian stirred, a strange smile creeping across her lips. "You thought you could challenge the legacy?" she hissed, eyes narrowing. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into." Before Elena could respond, the masked figures shifted, creating a circle around the chair. Their posture screamed allegiance to a silent leader who lingered in the fringe. "But Vivian," she chuckled, again low and menacing. "You're nothing but a pawn, Elena. Pathetic." It felt like being doused in ice water. All this time, she thought she was here to help, to fix, to heal. But now, the chill of betrayal seeped into her bones. "What do you mean?" The words barely escaped her lips. With a sudden burst of strength, Vivian leaned forward in her chair. "This isn't about you and me. Your past is woven into this estate. Like dark threads in a beautiful tapestry," she snapped, pointing the pendant at Elena, its surface gleaming like a knife's edge. And then, everything shattered again, but this time with words. "You were never meant to be here, Elena. You are my mirror, my shadow. Just as I have been trapped, so have you. But it's time someone broke the cycles." Each sentence sliced through Elena, each word carving deeper. What are you saying?" Her throat felt tight, fear and confusion swirling around her like a storm. "I am not the victim you think I am," Vivian whispered now, almost tenderly. "You think you're the savior? No, you're the key to my freedom." She pressed the pendant deep into Elena's palm. And a sudden electric shock ran through her veins. Her breath caught in her throat, paralyzed by its brilliance. Vivian's eyes glinted, a mix of delight and something darker. "Our families tied together, bound by blood. And secrets. You, Elena, are the last piece of the puzzle. Your return was by design, a pull toward fate." Everything collapsed into silence. The masked figures shifted, their expressions transforming from menacing to curious. Elena looked around, the reality crashing like waves against her. This is all a game to you?" The betrayal of her friends collided with the weight of Vivian's revelation. "Yes!" Vivian snapped with an intensity that rattled Elena to the core. "And you've stepped right into it. You're the one who will either free me or seal our fates forever." Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the atmosphere crackled with tension. An unseen force pressed against her, as Elena's heart thundered, bonded, borrowed, connected, in ways she couldn't understand. The finality of it twisted in her gut. In that moment, everything Elena believed was undone. Who could she trust? Could she save Vivian? Or was she the one the other woman needed to bind forever? The stakes rose and darkness loomed over the mansion, a thick fog of secrets threatening to engulf them both. And as shadows danced around them, someone from the masked crowd took a step forward, revealing a face far too familiar. "Sorry, Elena," they grinned, voice just above a whisper. "But you've always been part of this legacy." Elena's world shifted beneath her. What lay ahead? Freedom or damnation? The lines blurred. The truth was about to come out. But whose truth would prevail? Elena's heart hammered as the masked figure took a step forward, their face flickering in recognition. "You've always been part of this legacy," they whispered, voice smooth yet chilling. The words sunk in, wrapping around her chest like a vice. Whispers and gasps rippled through the room, vibrating with tension. "Chase?" It slipped from her lips before she could process it. The familiar face that once brought warmth now seemed twisted in darkness. The betrayal cut deep, sharper than any shard from the chandelier. How could you?" He grinned, a flash of teeth that felt more like a snarl. "Did you really think I was here to help you?" The words dripped with venom. "You're like a moth drawn to a flame, Elena. So eager to save everyone, to fix every broken thing in sight." "Stop it," her voice broke. "I was never part of this. I came to help her." She gestured wildly to Vivian, who sat grinning like a cat that caught the canary, excitement dancing in her eyes. "Oh, sweetheart," Vivian crooned. "You don't even know the half of it. You're not a savior. You're my tie to this." She motioned around the opulent room. "This empire of shadows. You're the last link to everything." Elena's pulse quickened. "What do you mean? What did you do to me? What are you hiding?" Doubt gnawed at her, the truth slipping through her fingers like sand. Chase stepped closer, his voice a low growl. "It all leads back to that pendant, doesn't it?" He pointed accusingly. "Your family didn't just have ties to the Alvarez. They were crucial to the Whitmore's rise. They created this trap together. A web of secrets spun through generations, and you ran right into it." She felt the weight of the pendant in her palm, the cold metal pulsing against her skin. No, it can't be true. It was too much. The walls seemed to pulse, closing in. The betrayal felt like a knife to the stomach, twisting as the pieces began to click into place. "I'm afraid it is," Vivian said, her tone becoming almost motherly, yet filled with malice. "Your family made a pact with mine, a promise sealed in darkness, and now it's your turn to fulfill it." Elena's knees buckled, reality splintered. She blinked, trying to comprehend. "You're saying you've planned this? I'm nothing but a pawn?" Everything she believed crashed down. All the effort she'd poured into saving Vivian felt like an empty gesture hanging in the air. "Yes," Chase purred, "a perfect pawn. Unbeknownst to you, your sister was part of the game too. When she disappeared, it was to keep the family ties. She was the one who made sure the threads stayed knotted. You've been on a collision course from there." A scream bubbled in her throat. "You're lying! My sister! She's gone! She couldn't." The words fell away, lost in the chaos. The hurt twisted into fury. Vivian leaned closer, a conspiratorial glint in her eyes. "The blood runs deep, Elena. And now the truth demands its reckoning. Would you really abandon the legacy of sacrifice?" Chase's grin widened, edged with malice and delight. "And now you must choose. Join us, or fight to uncover the depths of your family's betrayals. But know this, if you decide to resist, Vivian may not be the only one who suffers." A chill wormed its way down her spine as the room shifted. The masked figures loomed, revealing their alignment, eyes glinting with possession. Elena stood rooted, pulse racing, caught between the weight of generations and the shimmering possibility of freedom. In this monstrous game of survival, who could she trust? The lines of loyalty blurred beyond recognition. Was there any truth left to grasp, or was she trapped in an illusion she could never escape from? Before she could answer herself, the lights flickered one more time. A soft humming growing into a deafening buzz. Suddenly the pendant slipped from her grasp, tumbling to the ground with a crack that echoed like thunder. Time froze. Everything hung suspended, until, with a jolting twist, a bright light exploded from the pendant, filling the room. Shadows receded, and in that blinding flare, Elena felt something shift, like the grasp of fate tightening around her. What would it reveal? What had she truly unleashed? As darkness swirled, Elena braced herself for the unraveling storm. Would this spark bring clarity, or plunge them deeper into chaos? The light from the pendant exploded around them, blinding Elena for a split second. She felt it surge through her, shocking every nerve awake. The room lit up, shadows retreating, revealing the faces of her friends and foes alike caught in a moment of paralyzed surprise. Whispers filled the air, confusion swirling like smoke. But then, everything went silent. The glow from the pendant grew, almost tangible, filling the space with a strange warmth. It hummed, vibrating as if it held a heartbeat, a pulse that echoed in the hollow of her chest. "Elena, we need to get out," someone shouted. It was Chase, but his voice felt distant, muffled, like it was coming from the end of a tunnel. Vivian's laughter faded. "What is this?" she demanded, eyes narrowing. "What have you done?" The pendant seemed to respond, throwing light onto the walls, casting intricate patterns that twisted, and turned as if it were alive. The figures around them flinched, their masks reflecting flashes of brilliance, but Elena felt an unfamiliar strength surging within her, as if the light had unlatched something deep inside her, a dormant power waiting to awaken. And then, just as suddenly, the light flickered again, and exploded in a blinding flash. The sound was deafening, a crack that shattered the charged atmosphere. The ground beneath them trembled, and Elena staggered, eyes squeezed shut against the brightness. When she opened them again, the scene had changed. The mansion was gone. In its place stood a vast, desolate landscape, a bleak expanse, wind whipping around them. The opulence was stripped away, replaced by layers of dust and decay. Around them, the masked figures, Vivian included, stood as shadows, their forms shifting, faces obscured by darkness. Elena stumbled, looking around in shock. What happened? Where are we? Confusion gripped her, and then a small voice piped up from the shadows. "Welcome, Elena." The sound was soft yet commanding. A figure stepped into the light. A girl, no older than 10, with striking blue eyes that felt like piercing mirrors. "You've finally arrived." "Who are you?" Elena demanded, her heart racing. "I'm your sister," the girl said, her smile unnerving. "You thought she disappeared, but she didn't. Not really. She's been waiting for you to find the truth." Shock slammed into Elena. "No, it's unfair." "That's impossible." The girl nodded, a knowing look in her eyes. "The pendant you held wasn't just a key. It's a portal, a bridge to the life you were always meant to live." Every jumbled emotion fell into place like puzzle pieces snapping together in her mind. You're her? You've been here this whole time?" "I was never gone. I was just hidden, stashed away like the secrets of our family," said the girl, stepping closer. "Now it's your turn to choose. Save us or let the past bury you both." Elena faltered, her breath caught in her chest. Everything she had fought for, everything believed about her sister's disappearance. Poof, gone, relationships cracked, shifting like sand beneath her feet. "But how?" Elena stammered, desperation clawing at her. "Embrace the truth. Find your power," the girl urged, eyes steady. "This place is entwined with the legacy of blood and sacrifice. You'll either break the cycle, or become part of it forever." The tension wrapped around her like a snake. The masked figures, friends, allies, or enemies, watched her every move, the silence heavy with unspoken questions. Was she strong enough to confront it all? Could she really change the legacy? Elena met the blue eyes, steady and piercing. "What if I fail?" A smirk tugged at the girl's lips, a hint of mischief. "That's just the beginning. You've only seen one aspect of the game." The shadows shifted again, the world around her trembling as the familiar glow of the pendant dimmed, revealing the path forward, uncertain, daunting. But in that moment of clarity, Elena knew deep down she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Whatever mystery waited in the dark, she would uncover it. "Then let's begin," she declared, resolute as the echoes of her past screamed for revenge. The stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just about Vivian anymore. It was about awakening a truth that had the power to change everything. Would they embrace the light or fall back into darkness? The answer loomed just ahead, wrapped in shadows and unresolved questions. The underground landscape felt labyrinthine, a mixture of eerie calm and latent chaos. Elena stood, heart thudding, taking sensation from the presence of her sister, Sophie. But just as the shock of recognition settled, the ground shook beneath them. It wasn't an earthquake. It felt deeper, more sinister. "Elena." Sophie's voice echoed, her eyes wide. "You have to." Before she could finish, a roar split the silence. A dark fissure opened in the ground, pulsating with an ominous force. Shadows twisted and writhed, and suddenly the masked figures fell back, scrabbling away, as if something monstrous was awake. "What is happening?" Panic surged through Elena as the ground cracked further, fissures coursing like veins around them. She gripped Sophie's arm. "Stay close." "We need to go," Sophie shouted, pulling Elena back as a dark shape loomed from the depths below, a figure rising from the dark, clad in shadows and gloom. It emerged slowly, twisting and contorting like liquid night, the small childlike face twisted into a grotesque version of Sophie's, a flicker of recognition mingling with horror. "You've returned," it whispered, voice a haunting echo. "You came to claim what was never yours." Elena's breath hitched. "What do you mean? What is this?" She could feel the weight of something ancient and angry pressing against her chest. With a twisted grin, the figure laughed. A sound both familiar and terrifying. "We are bound, you and I. You're not the savior, but the architect of your demise." "No!" Elena screamed, shaking her head, denial crashing through her. "You're lying." "Am I?" it taunted. "You've awakened the curse of this family. You, with all your good intentions, have only ripped the seams of your legacy apart. It isn't just Vivian's or yours, it's ours, tied together by pain." "What is yours?" Elena felt the air grow thick, fear wrapping around her like a vice. "You're not Sophie." The figure lunged forward, the shadows spilling like ink over the dusty ground. "Am I not the one who turned her back on you? The shadows have kept me alive in a prison of their own creation. And now, dear sister, you'll pay the price." The room plunged into chaos as Elena staggered back. Adrenaline surged through her. "Sophie, you're not like this," she screamed, turning to her sister for answers. But Sophie stepped back, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "I had to embrace the darkness, Elena, to understand the truth." Tension hung, a taut wire ready to snap. The figure started to circle them, its eyes flashing like candles in a storm. "The truth," it echoed mockingly, "is that there is no redemption without sacrifice. Your sister has come to choose her fate, and she has chosen the darkness." "No." Elena felt despair clawing at her insides. The truth splintered like glass. "You can't. We can fight it together." Sophie's expression hardened. "Fight it? I am it." She reached into her own pocket, pulling out a pendant identical to the one Elena had dropped, and held it high. "And soon you will be as well." Before Elena could react, the darkness erupted, swirling around them, catching her breath in her throat. "This is your legacy," the shadowed Sophie hissed, "and I will trap you in it forever." Suddenly, the world collapsed into a blinding light, a sharp crack echoing through the space as the gems in the pendants flared, clashing like stars. The figures howled, retreating into darkness, but the light pressed forward, enveloping everything. And in that blinding burst, Elena screamed, "I won't let this be the end." But her voice echoed back to her faintly, swallowed by the storm of shadow and light, leaving only questions swirling in the chaos. What truth awaited beyond? What future lay in the tangled webs of family lies? Would the darkness consume them all? The blinding light encased Elena, wrapping her in a cocoon of warmth and fear. It felt like a heartbeat. All around her, shadows twisted, their edges warping as if the world was melting. "Stay back," Elena shouted, her voice almost lost in the overwhelming hum. Panic surged. She squeezed Sophie's arm tighter, drowning in confusion. The swirling mass darkened, forming something human but not. It grinned, the familiarity in its playfulness twisting into something sinister. "Your sister hovers between reality and darkness, for she craves power." The shadow of Sophie whispered, its voice a haunting echo. Each word dripped with malice. "You think you're here to save her, but she's the rescue. For herself." Elena's heart raced. Desperation clawed at her insides. "No, you don't get to claim her. Sophie wouldn't choose this." She wanted to scream, throw punches, but she felt weightless and powerless. The blinded light pulsed again, the intensity rising to unbearable heights. And then, a snap resonated through the chaos, a shift, quick and jarring. The figure lunged, and the connection between them seemed to snap like a taut wire. "Elena!" a voice cried, slicing through the chaos. She whipped around. It was Chase. He ran forward, face pale, panic etched across his features. "You have to get out. They're escaping." "What?" Terror coursed through her. "What's happening?" But before he could answer, the dark figure surged forward, its shadow stretching and reaching. It sent a wave crashing through the air, forcing Chase to stagger back. The light flickered one last time and exploded, leaving only silence, the air thick with uncertainty. And then there it was, a figure breaking through the shards of light, stumbling toward them. Time slowed. It wasn't just anyone. It was their mother. Elena felt her heart stop. "Mom?" she whispered, disbelief echoing in her voice. She looked from the shadowed Sophie to the woman emerging, the familiar contours of her face fractured between fear and determination. "Is it really you?" "I was trying to protect you," her mother gasped, gripping the air as if it burned. "You don't know the truth of our family's curse. You're too close to the darkness." "But you left." Elena felt as though the ground had given way and she was free falling. "You abandoned us." "Please listen," her mother pleaded, tears glimmering in the light. "I needed to keep you safe. I wanted to shield you from what's coming." At that moment, Sophie twisted, her shape rippling like water. "You lied. You hid the truth from us. You think you can just walk back in? This is our game now." Everything spiraled. Elena's head spun with horrific clarity. Their mother had known. Every secret, every moment of silence was finally unraveling. "Mom, why didn't you stop any of this?" she cried out. "Elena," her mother began, trembling. "I did everything I could to protect you both. But it only kept you in darkness. Your sister, she was meant to carry this legacy." The shadows laughed, a chilling chorus that sent shivers down Elena's spine. "You are not the savior," they hissed. "You're part of a twisted lineage." Suddenly the ground shook violently. An eruption broke forth. Chains of darkness flowed into the air. The fabric of reality seemed to tear apart. The ceiling cracked like thunder, and a vast void opened beneath them. Elena's breath caught, panic setting in as everything she thought she knew began to shatter. "No," she screamed, grasping for anything solid. The revelation hung in the air, chilling her blood. Her mother was bound to this darkness, just as Sophie was. It felt like betrayal, twisted fate. Was this really family, or a trap? In that moment, as the abyss yawned below, Elena felt the heavy weight of uncertainty, and an even greater fear. Who should she trust? What truth lay buried within these layers of darkness and secrets? As they hovered on the edge of oblivion, caught between love and betrayal, Elena could only whisper, "What now?" The silence that followed felt like a whirlwind. What horrors awaited as the past refused to let them go? The ground trembled beneath them, licking at the edges of reason. Shadows writhed, wrapping tightly around Elena, Sophie, and their mother like sinister vines. "What now?" echoed sharply in the air, as if the darkness itself demanded an answer. Time seemed to pause, an endless moment stretched thin, thick with fear and dread. Elena's heart thundered, echoing against the rising chaos. "Mom, you need to tell us what's happening." Her voice broke, desperation clawing at the back of her throat, and just as her mother opened her mouth to speak, the ground roared, a fissure splitting wide beneath them, darkness yawning like a hungry beast. Out of that void emerged a cyclone of energy, swirling the remnants of past lives and buried secrets. An intense light burst forth from the depths, blinding and cold, flickering like stars dying one by one. Elena shielded her eyes, but she could feel something shifting, something raw and undeniable. It clawed at her chest, making her tremble. Then she heard it, a whisper slicing through the chaos. "This is the point of no return." The voice was familiar, yearning. She looked up, heart racing. "Chase?" His face pierced through the swirling dust. It was panic-laden, filled with urgency. "Elena, you have to." But before he could finish, the shadows surged forward like a tide, swallowing him whole. The ground beneath them gave way, and she frantically reached for him, fingers brushing empty air. A cry rang out. The figure, Sophie's shadowed twin grinned wider, revealing teeth in a way that sent waves of terror crashing over Elena. See? It consumes anyone who steps too close to truth. Just like our family. The walls shook, distorting reality as smoke curled around them. Stop, Elena screamed, her heart racing. We can break this. She turned to her mother, desperate. You have to know what to do. But her mother's eyes shifted, a mixture of regret and fear. Elena, it's too late. You don't understand. And then, the unthinkable happened. In the midst of chaos, Sophie's shadow twisted in on itself, with a sudden jolt. The entire space flickered. Everyone froze. From within the swirling mass of darkness, a new figure materialized. Elegant, yet fearsome, his eyes gleamed like shards of ice. Enough, he declared, his voice cutting like a knife. You meddle where you do not belong. Elena's stomach dropped. The man stepped forward, a ghost from her childhood, a memory buried beneath layers of pain. Her father. Dad? Her voice trembled, emotions swirling wildly. But, you left. Why are you? Because I must, he interrupted sharply. To cleanse the bloodline, to end the cycle of sacrifice. Shock rippled through the group. Chase's absence echoed with anguish, heightening the stakes. All the lies, the secrets they had woven together. How could he be here now? He was supposed to be gone. Stay back, Sophie shouted, her face twisted with rage. You abandoned us. Did I? He retorted, venom lacing each word. The air grew heavy with tension. I sacrificed myself for you. I thought it was the only way to sever the ties binding this cursed family. Cursed? Elena echoed, dread pooling in her gut. What are you saying? I sought to protect you. He stepped closer, his face twisted with sorrow and resolve. The darkness is part of all of us. Sophie embraced it. You must too. Join us, or it will consume you. Elena shook her head, panic rising to her throat. No, I won't. Voices rose around her, swirling with uncertainty, echoes of betrayal whispering in shades of darkness. Join me, he pressed, reaching out, desperation stark in his eyes. Together we can free her, free us all from this legacy. But as he spoke, the ground beneath her cracked wider, shadows pulsing with life, an undercurrent of relentless darkness. Their family's curse wasn't merely a legacy, it was a prison, and she was standing on its foundation. Choose, Elena, the figure hissed, his eyes filled with fierce intensity. Align with darkness or be ground into nothingness. Break the chains or become one with them. Terror gripped her throat, and she gasped, the weight of generations pressing down. Elena felt her choice, the gravity of it, crushing her. Everything she believed shattered. And just then, beneath the mounting pressure, Elena felt it. A spark of defiance flicker alive. She looked around at the faces, her mother, Sophie, and the shadowed reality unfolding. Enough of this game, she yelled. And that was her breaking point, the tether snapping. And then, nothing. The abyss swirled, light and darkness colliding in a desperate embrace, leaving her teetering on the edge of existence. What lay beyond? What choice would define them all? The ground shook beneath them, the void expanding with a growl that made the air thick with dread. Shadows writhed, their tendrils curling around everyone. Gasped at the edges of her resolve, inching closer and closer. Enough of this game, Elena yelled, the words blasting into the noise, trembling with a fierce determination. But then, everything changed. With a sudden, deafening crack, the pendant in her hand shattered like glass, releasing a blinding flash of light. For an instant, time froze, everything suspended in the weight of expectation. Shadows screamed, light crackled, and then, as if the universe itself had ripped open, a torrent of vivid images surged through Elena's mind. She stumbled back, gasping, confusion flooding her senses. Her heart raced. What was happening? The world spun in a carousel of memories. Scenes from her past, fragments of laughter and tears, faces, of family, of joy, of pain. Then a chilling, familiar voice sliced through. "Look closer, Elena." Everything shifted. The fractured perspective aligned, revealing not just her past, but a twisted narrative. The story she thought was hers wasn't complete. It was rewriting itself. The shadows began to recede, and from that raw light, a figure emerged, clad in mist. "You sought a family bond?" The voice echoed, strangely melancholic. "What if you've been the missing piece all along?" Elena blinked, confusion knotting her brow. Who are you?" She felt the essence of power coiling around her, every word curling through her veins, urging her to step forward. And then it cracked open, a sudden revelation. The figure stepped into the light, and Elena's breath caught. It was her younger self, a ghost of a time lost, but with a knowing smile that twisted her gut. "Me?" she whispered, the realization washing over her like ice water. "Why are you here?" "You don't remember?" the apparition said softly, almost teasing. "You made the choice once before, and every generation since has carried it. The price for our family's freedom. You kept that truth buried deep." Elena's legs felt weak. What truth? Panic thrummed beneath her skin, the uncertainty of it all clawing at her heart. "What are you talking about? Mom and Sophie didn't abandon you. They sacrificed the truth, hoping to keep you safe. The darkness flows through our blood. Your legacy is tied to it. That's why the shadows wanted you, to reclaim what was lost." The realization hit like a shockwave. This whole time, the chase for answers had been a shared legacy, a web of family choices rooted in sacrifice. Confusion twisted into clarity, casting light onto shadows that had lingered for too long. Vivian stepped forward, the fake bravado peeling back as understanding gripped her. You are the embodiment of the curse." Her voice quivered with fear and disbelief. "We count on you to end it. And now you must choose," the younger Elena urged, the glow around her intensifying. "Join us to break free, or remain bound, but know there will be a cost." Could you bear to give up everything? Elena's heart raced through a storm of emotions, memories swirling, pulling her in countless directions. This was a truth unearthing itself, deeper than she ever understood. "Choose your fate," the shadows clamored, an all-consuming tide. Each figure lurched closer, their eyes glinting with dark promises, the energy crackling around them like electricity. What would she decide? The weight of her family's past pressed down, intermingling with a powerful force of light that promised freedom. But what if breaking free cost everything she cherished? As darkness loomed, the question echoed louder. What was she willing to sacrifice to sever the chains? And just as her mind began to grasp the enormity of that trust, the floor beneath her buckled, revealing the void once more. Time was running out. Would she embrace the truth and risk it all, or would the shadows snatch her away forever? Elena stood at the precipice, her breath hitching as the swirling darkness threatened to consume her whole. The shadows writhed like angry serpents, their whispers clawing at her sanity. The flickering light of the shattered pendant pulsed, illuminating the truth that lay before her, the irony of her family's legacy, twisted in dark anger and sorrow. "Enough," she shouted, her voice pulsing with newfound strength, the weight of her ancestors pressing down on her shoulders. "I choose to break free." The shadows surged forward, but in that moment, lightning-strike clarity washed over Elena. Memories flooded back. Moments of love, warmth, laughter, and family. This darkness couldn't represent her true self. She extended her hand, feeling the remnants of the pendant's power entwine with her soul. "You don't control me." With fierce defiance, she focused everything she believed into that light, an explosion of her innermost self erupting from her heart. A radiant beam shot from her palm, slicing through the darkness like a sword. The figures recoiled, shrieking in pain and frustration. For the first time, the shadows flickered and faltered. "Elena, no," Sophie yelled, twisted shadows surrounding her as fear melted into anger. "You can't do this. You'll lose everything. No, Elena replied, her voice trembling but firm. I won't lose myself. A fierce battle played out, the light clashing against the encroaching shadows. Faces from her past flickered through the radiant glow. Family, friends, allies, people who had stood by her side. Their echoes joined her fight, fortifying her, bolstering her resolve. Suddenly, the ground beneath her cracked wider, the dark abyss threatening to swallow her whole. She glanced at Chase, his eyes filled with fear, and for a split second, she could see the warmth he'd once brought into her hollow heart. Believe in me, she cried. Believe in our truth. Chase nodded, even as despair clung to him. You're stronger than they thought. Elena, let the light in. And in that instant, the darkness quivered, hesitated, a weakness Elena seized upon. She channeled every memory, every shred of love and hope into one final push. Be free, she shouted, and the light erupted, shattering the remnants of the shadows. The blinding radiance cascaded around her, glowing tendrils reaching out, binding the essence of family, wrapping around Sophie, her mother, and the dark figure. The echoes of their pain and betrayal fused, mixing with the light, transforming it into something new, something healing. As the blinding light consumed everything, Elena felt a warmth envelop her. The shadows melted away, their whispers fading into the breeze. The chaos was gone, replaced with a serene calm. She blinked against the brightness, and as her vision cleared, she beheld a remarkable sight, an open sky draped in dawn's first light, with a horizon glowing as if inviting the world for new beginnings. Sophie stood beside her, now no longer imprisoned by shadows. Tears glistened in her eyes, but they were not fueled by anger or resentment. I was lost, Elena. I didn't know how to return, she whispered, her voice laced with remorse. We're together now, Elena breathed, a smile breaking through, warming her heart. We can make it right. Their mother stepped forward, the weight of sorrow lifting. I was wrong to think I could protect you by hiding the truth. I was blind to the love we could share. I'm sorry. For all of it, Sophie added, stepping toward her, their bonds rekindling as light embraced them. The past began to fade into obscurity. Shadows turned to memories dissolved by the dawn's embrace. Together the three of them faced the fresh horizon, ready to forge a new path ahead. As sunlight bathed them in warmth, Elena felt the bittersweet sting of grief mingled with joy. The chains of their legacy were finally broken. Let's create a new story, she smiled, one filled with truth and love. Their shadows merged, becoming silhouettes against the rising sun, a testament to resilience and unity. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And as hope flourished in that new dawn, Elena held tightly onto her sister's hand, ready for whatever life had in store. Hey, before you go, you have to subscribe right now. Don't miss any of the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now. It really helps with the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how it ends. Your participation matters, and together we grow stronger.